Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here today. My name is Pegah Soltani, and my colleague Farnaz Fassihi and I will be hosting this digital teaching tools workshop.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Farnaz. It's nice to meet you all, and hopefully you will enjoy this workshop today.
Thank you. Great. So before we get started, I just want to remind everybody how to apply for their Teaching and Learning Day Spring 2021 PD badge. You can visit the conference website. Farnaz will put it in the chat for instructions. And to get your badge, you need to write your reflections on the day's events, whichever workshops that you have attended, and complete the application form in order to get your badge. Great. Oh, what's going on? Okay, great. So on the agenda today, we will start off with a quick Mentimeter survey, which we will also introduce as well. Then we will go into the digital tools that you can use within your classrooms. The tools will be ESL Library, Quizlet, TED Ed, and Microsoft Stream. Of course, there are many more, but given the time, we can only go through these 4. And then we'll provide just a very, very brief overview of a communication application that you can use in your classrooms called GroupMe. We will talk about that, and then we will have the last 5 or 10 minutes for Q&A to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you, Pegah. Sorry, I was muted for a second. Thank you. So again, my name is Farnaz, and I'll be presenting this workshop alongside Pegah. We are both professors at ELI and at CELS. Pegah holds a master's in education, and I hold a master in information science, and we've been teaching at Seneca for a couple of years. And we are very happy to be here today.
Thank you.
So for us to get an idea of how familiar everybody is here with the tools that we're going to present and with digital tools in general, I would like to ask you to go to Mentimeter. So it's menti.com. You can use your phone or any other device to go to menti.com and then enter the code that you see on the screen on Menti, and then you should be able to see the questions. We will also share the questions here. I will also share the code in the chat for easier access if you just want to copy and paste it to your device. If you just give me 1 second. There we go. You can use this code. I think we will give everybody about 30 to 40 seconds to go over the questions. And then we're going to share the results here as well. So yeah, the first question you see is describe your experience using digital teaching tools. Like you can use words like challenging or very easy to use, whatever word. Oh, overwhelming. Okay.
Frustrating, creative, great.
Great words.
Fun, challenging, fantastic. Fumbling, I like that.
Very similar experience as we've all had. Frustrating at times, definitely.
So the bigger the words in the middle, the more everyone is using these words. So frustrating, interesting, and creative seem to be the most popular. Both interesting and frustrating. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
I think
it's more interesting than frustrating, so that's good.
Somebody said okay, which is good too.
Too many. Oh, yeah. It can be overwhelming at times, like which tool to choose for what lesson.
Tech challenge, accessible, that's a good one. Exhausting, yep, I can feel that, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. Okay. Wow. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. So we have 29 responses. Oh, they're still coming in. Great. Hit and miss.
We can wait a few seconds and then go over to the next one.
Great. Difficult for students. Yes, absolutely.
They need to be taught how to use each of these tools, and that can be a little difficult for professors as well.
Great. Okay. So I guess the winners are frustrating, interesting, challenging, overwhelming, and fun.
And creative, maybe a little bit.
Great too, which is great. Great. Okay. Wow, great. Thank you, everybody. Oh, still coming in.
Like walking in a fog. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Great. Okay, thank you. So yes, as you can see, we all have had very different experiences with different digital teaching tools. So thank you guys for sharing that. So the second question is if you guys can rate which of these digital tools you have used in the classroom, that would be great. Great, Kahoot is always a good one.
Yeah. Google Docs.
Yeah.
Whatever Google provides is always great.
Absolutely.
Okay, so mainly Google Docs and Kahoot so far. I'm also looking at the chat here. Kajang says, I use Menti quite often. That's great. I use the word cloud. However, how were you able to write those words in blue up there on the corner? I think, Pegah, that's a question for you. I think you mentioned that frustrating and interesting.
That was just somebody annotated on Zoom. Oh. So yes, I was a little confused myself there as well, but I realized I cleared the drawing. So I think someone just kind of on Zoom annotated. So not part of Menti.
Oh, okay. Is
Yeah.
Menti free to use? I think most of the features are free. Correct me, Pegah, if I'm wrong.
Yes.
But if you want to use like more than 2 or 3 of the tools, like the polls or the quizzes, if I'm not mistaken, you should buy the membership or register.
Yes. And
but yeah, it is through Seneca. It is, yes.
So Alka says, is there a code for Menti? So with Menti, actually, you create the slides yourself. And once you've created your presentation, then it generates a code for you that you can share with your students, just like how we did with you guys. So
it's quite similar to Kahoot in that case, like you have to share the code.
Great, okay.
Yeah, Ellen, it has only 3 free tools, I guess, so you can only use them. But the slides are free, I guess.
They are, yes, they are, yeah. Okay, great, fantastic. So winners are Google Docs, Slides, Sheets, and Forms, Kahoot, and Menti. And not so much Quizlet and Microsoft Stream, which is fantastic. We will actually be going through Quizlet Microsoft Stream today. So that kind of works out. Great, thank you, everybody. I'm just gonna go back to the presentation here, and Farnaz will go through Menti very briefly.
So as we all saw, Menti is a great tool to build interactive presentations and engage learners in a fun way. It can be used at the beginning of the class, in the middle, or at the end. You can create live polls, quizzes, word clouds, and get real-time input, which is, I think, great, especially when we share it with students and they can also see what their peers and other learners are answering. And you can also share the results for further analysis and compare data over time because it will stay on the website in your account. So yeah, we highly recommend Menti. If you like it, you can definitely use it in your classes. And I'm going to hand it over to Pegah now, and she's going to introduce two great tools to be used in our classes, whether we're online or whether we go back to in-person classes. So go ahead.
Thank you, Farnaz. So the first one is ESL Library. This is for ESL or English teachers to use. So it's free resources online. There are over 1,000 lessons of different proficiency levels, different categories of lessons that you can use in your classrooms. The account is free to make for both you and your students, and you can use your Seneca email or personal email as well. Now, what you can find on ESL Library are different resources, so different lessons. What's great about it is that ESL Library has full lessons, and I will show you guys, you guys a quick sample of ESL Library, and I'll go through it very quickly. You can choose different categories such as grammar, everyday language, speeches, etc. Like I said, different proficiency levels. Now, the lessons are both digital and printable. Digital, I will go through it just very briefly. So digital, you can assign online to your students. And the printable versions, of course, are for when we go back into class, and you can print PDF versions of the lessons and give to your students. Now, these are just kind of the proficiency levels that you can choose. So it's from literacy levels, so pre-CLB to advanced, and the two different formats that you can choose, digital and printable. So with ESL Library, like I said, the lessons are complete, they're fantastic. They usually start with vocabulary exercises, and then there's a short lesson. So let's say, for example, you choose gerunds and infinitives or present simple. It will go through the lesson for the students, and then there's some practice, and then some practice quizzes and assessments. So sometimes it's a multiple choice quiz or something that they have to write, and it's great for students. So there's a teacher's version that has answers at the end of the document, the PDF document, and then there's a student version. So it's important because when you are assigning activities and lessons to students, you would want to use, of course, the student version without the answers, so that students can practice. And here are the different assessment categories. So there are assessment tools such as placement tests, student portfolios, quizzes, things like that. There are grammar and vocabulary exercises and lessons. There's listening, and as you can see here, different types of assessments that you can use. Now, one great thing about ESL Library is that you can create classes on there. So you can create your own class. As you can see here, I have 3 classes on here with my students. You just share a link or a password to the class, and students can join. And in the classes, you can assign homework virtually and different practices for students to use. You can assign the homework either individually to individual students if they need extra help, or you can assign it as a class for everyone to do. Most lessons and practices are marked automatically. They're usually multiple choice, so ESL Library does that for you. But if it's written practice, then you need to manually go in and mark the assessment, and you can provide feedback as well. So just a quick kind of overview. So I've already signed in to ESL Library here, and this is the first page, so you can go through the different categories. It doesn't just have to be for ESL classes. You can use it for other classes as well. You can see there are discussion starters, there are mini debates. Then of course we go into grammar, and you can do for young learners and adult literacy. So there are different lessons that you can choose from here: pronunciation, English basics, things like that. There's everyday English as well. Simple questions, living in English, everyday dialogues, functional English. So you can definitely use these. Again, they are full lessons. You can use lessons under academic and business English to teach students. And there's reading and discovery, holidays and travel, storylines, and things like that. So if we, for example, look at, let's see, simple sentences, for example, a grammar lesson, you just click on this, and you can go down here. There are different categories. Let's just choose clothing. You can go in and you can click the PDF viewer, right? So you can see the lesson yourself. So like I said, on the left-hand side, there's a teacher's version and a student's version. And it just kind of starts like this. So it starts with a vocabulary lesson, some practice, and then maybe some expression. So the lessons are complete. They're fantastic. This, as you can see, is a 26-page lesson. So of course you can divide it up into different classes. There are expressions, and then questions and answers. Sometimes there's pair work that you can do. But of course, the pair work can only be done in class. But there are other activities that you can do online as well. So you can see the pair work all the way down. So this is kind of an overview of what the lessons look like. Of course, this is very low level. You can choose the levels as well, and you can print or assign it digitally. Now, one thing I'd like to mention in terms of the lessons, so you can see here, I'm just going to show you very quickly. Oh, it's not working at the moment. So the way that you would know if the lesson is digital or not, as you guys can see here, beside each lesson, there's a little computer sign. So this means that you can print it or assign it digitally. But some of the lessons do not have that. So you can see here, role play, there's no computer sign, which means that unfortunately you can only use this lesson in class. So you would have to print the PDF and give it to your students. But any lesson that has a little computer sign, you can just assign it digitally. Now the way to do that, up here, you can create my classes, and you can create your class, and you can assign activities to students. So for example, I'll just go into my ELI higher level class, and here, so you can see all of the assignments that I have assigned to the students. If it will load, there you go. So for example, I have a set date, I have a start date, I have a due date for them, and I can see, for example, 20 out of 24 students have completed these activities, and I can go in and look at the students' progress as well. So I can see, how many tasks students have done, how long it's taken them, and I can actually click into each student, and I can see the scores that they've gotten on each assessment as well, and how many times they've done them. So I'm trying to load it. There you go. So it's first attempt total, and I can see, the scores that they've gotten, and the status of the assignment as well. So this is a good way to kind of hold students accountable and have them practice and do this practice as well. So this is, again, I would love to keep going on and on about ESL Library. There's so many features, but due to time restraints, I will move on. Of course, I will answer any questions.
Before you move on, sorry, we have a good question in the chat. I wasn't sure of the answer, so I thought I should ask you. So do other professors at Seneca have access to ESL Library? Because we do, as professors at ELI, like we're provided with a username and password. But can all professors access, like if somebody wants to do a business lesson here on ESL Library from a different major, can they access it? Do you have any information on that?
So I believe that it depends on the department. So if the department has registered for ESL Library, then yes, you can. You can use ESL Library through your own personal account. There are some features that you might not have, but you can definitely use the features, for example, printing the lessons on your own personal account. But in terms of the professors and the other departments, it just depends on the department that has access. I believe Seneca as a college is subscribed to this, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe if Jen has an idea about this. Maybe.
Sorry, what was that?
Sorry, if all professors can use ESL Library, or I mean, we're at ELI, and you know, the ELI is registered under ESL Library, but I'm not sure if other departments.
I think it might be a departmental subscription.
Okay.
But let me have a peek, and I'll get right back.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, so we'll come back to that, and we'll come back to that. And in the meantime, I will go on to Quizlet very quickly. Mindful of time, I promise. So Quizlet is a fantastic tool to use for practicing vocabulary. You make an account, it's free, and you create sets on Quizlet. So what that means is, let's say you're doing a unit or you've read an article and you want to test students on 30 vocabulary terms. You can create a set on Quizlet and you can assign that set to students, and they can practice on their own time. So I'll just show you very quickly. For example, I have a set here. I did an article on campus failures on the syllabus. So I've created these words. I just share this link up here with students, and they can come in and use flashcards. So let's say they look at the word sophomore and they try to guess what it means, and then they can click on it and it'll show them the definition, and they can keep going through the set. They can also use different features on the left-hand side. These are great. So they can click, for example, write and Quizlet. So all you need to do is just create the vocabulary set, and these different features are available through Quizlet. So it'll give you the definition up here. Students have to type in their answer. If they don't know, they click don't know, and it will give them the correct answer. And then they type it on here. They can also practice their spelling. They can do a little test. If they click the test feature, Quizlet will automatically create a test based on the amount of vocabulary terms you have. So there are 3 written questions, matching, multiple choice, and true and false. So they can do that. They can also play games. This matching game students love. So as you can see here, they can play this game. They see the different words. They have to move onto the words. For example, if it's incorrect, then it'll be red, and they have to keep trying. And on the side, they can see how long it's taken for them to match the terms together. Now, one feature of Quizlet, which is fantastic and you can use in the classroom, hopefully once we all go back, is the Quizlet Live feature. And this is in class. So you click Quizlet Live and you can get started. You can choose the teams. So Quizlet will create teams based on the amount of students that are in the classroom, let's say random teams. You can choose the type of questions that you like students to see. So either the definition and the term or vice versa. We can click this. And now students will have to sign on on their phones, okay, on their phones, you project this screen in class and students sign in through their phones. And they have to scan this QR code or use this code to come in. Now, what it does is it will show students the vocabulary term. Let's say there's a group of 2 students, pairs, and the students have to come together. They have to look at both of their cell phones, both of their phones, and choose the correct term or definition. Now, only one of them has the correct definition. So students think that the term or the definition is on their own phones, but they have to come together with their partner, look through the options and choose one. So this is a great way to kind of get them engaging with one another. They go through the vocabulary terms, they decide which one is the correct answer, and then they choose it. And then it goes through the set. So here, of course, we don't have any players, but here you'll be able to see the groups. Let's say there are 10 groups, and it's a competition. So students are trying to get all 10 terms correct before anybody else. And once they do, there's like a little song here as well. I'll play for you guys. It's, oh, that's very loud. So my apologies. So there's a little song in the classroom and students get into it very much. They get very competitive and they can see, it's kind of on a time frame, and they can see which groups are ahead and they kind of work quickly. I find that students love to do the same set at least 2 or 3 times, just because their competitive nature, you know, makes them want to win. So it's a great way to kind of engage students and get them practicing vocabulary, either in the classroom or at home on their own time. Okay, so that is it for me.
So before I continue, thank you so much for those tools. We have a couple of questions about Quizlet.
Yeah.
The first one is it free for the teacher? And can we access all the features on Quizlet?
So yes, there is just one feature that you unfortunately cannot access. When you assign these sets to your students, the only thing is that you cannot monitor their progress. So unfortunately, you have to upgrade. It's $5 a month, so you can upgrade to access that feature, but every other feature is free. So, I mean, I find that, you know, there are ways around it. So you can get students to send you a screenshot of their progress, or, you know, show you in class. So that's not too big of a deal, but everything else is free, yes.
Okay, great. And all teachers can access, like anybody can access.
Yes, anybody can access it. Yeah, you can use your personal email. That's completely fine. You can create your class and share the link with your students.
Yeah, and another question is, can we type any kind of questions we want, like math questions, or can we upload images on Quizlet? Have you ever tried that?
I haven't tried images, but I know that you can type other types of questions as well. So yes, you can put math questions. It just depends. It's mainly for vocabulary, but you can, for example, put a math term. So let's say you want to create like a study set, for example, and there are ways around it. So you can create a set, you can put in the term and then the definition. It doesn't have to be vocabulary and definition. It could be, you know, what is, I don't know, this math formula, and then you can give them the option here and it'll do the same things.
So I'm seeing some comments like it's not free, it's free only for a 30-day trial.
No. So the 30-day trial, you can bypass that. So I've been using Quizlet for years now, and I actually use my own personal account. I use my Gmail account, and I've never had to pay for anything. Like I said, a couple of the features you do have to pay for, but everything else, everything that I've shown today is all free.
Great, awesome. And I can see that you can upgrade to teacher account.
Yes, you can upgrade. You pay $5 a month, and you can, you know, these are the features that you can track students' progress. There are multiple choice options, but there are free versions of these as well that you can use.
Okay, wonderful.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to start sharing my screen. If you just bear with me for a second. Okay. I hope everybody can see the screen that I'm sharing. So one of the tools that I'm going to introduce today is TED Ed. I'm sure many of us have used TED Talks before in our classes, maybe to engage students or maybe to introduce a topic. Now, there is another side to TED called TED Ed, which I personally use a lot, and I think it is very useful. So in a nutshell, what we can do with TED Ed is to discover ideas that spark the curiosity of learners. You can create customized lessons for your learners, or you can make changes to the already existing lessons on TED Ed. You can also inspire learners to share their own ideas, and you can share your ideas through a TED-style talk and then assign that to your students. What I personally really enjoy about TED Ed is that it's very up to date with whatever is going on in the world. You can currently find videos on vaccine, on COVID-19, which is a hot topic nowadays, or any other topic that you would like to engage your students. Okay, I'm going to go to, just a second, to TED Ed website. I have screenshots of how you can create lessons in case we share this PowerPoint later. But right now I'm going to go to the actual website and show you how it works there. So here you can log in with your Gmail account. It's completely free. You do not need to pay for anything. Your students don't need to pay to access the lessons. I'm going to touch on that later. So the first icon you see here, the first item, is to discover lessons. This is if you want to use an existing lesson. So you just simply click on that. You can filter all the videos that pop up. So here you can say, you can decide your student level, your content type. I'm just gonna show them as a sample. Like, do you want animations? Do you want lessons, talk lessons, or other lessons? And you can also sort it by newest, oldest. How long do you want the video to be? Most of the time you might want short videos to engage your students. So you can choose that here. So once you choose a lesson, let's say this one here with Greta Thunberg. Once you choose a lesson, you here are provided with 4 different features. The first one is watch, then you have think, then you have dig deeper and discuss, and the last one is to customize the lesson. So when students watch, you can give them your own instructions, like what you want them to do. The think feature is where they have to answer some questions, like what are the irreversible problems with climate change after they watch the video. You can also share the questions beforehand if you want. The dig deeper provides more information and more videos and more blogs to study on the same topic. So it introduces some other related videos. It says, watch these recommended TED Ed lessons. If you want your students to follow up with the lesson, you can definitely guide them, direct them to this part of the lesson. And then at the end, you have a discuss feature. So there is, here there are like 2 questions. And students can discuss that in class, or this can become an assignment, whatever you choose to do with it. Now you can customize this lesson, and this is what I think is the most interesting feature. So when you click on the customize this lesson, you can, first of all, edit everything about this video. You can edit the title, you can delete this one, and then put your own title here, whatever you want. So everything is editable, and then you just click save or discard. Then you have your let's begin, which is a brief information about the video, what they're going to watch. In the think part, where they have to answer questions, you can customize these questions according to your lesson. And Then if you want them to be able to access other videos that are not mentioned here on TED Ed, you can put them here in the dig deeper part. So you do that and then you simply publish your lesson. Now here under the video thumbnail, you can see change video or crop video. Sometimes the video is too long. You don't want the students to watch all of it. So you can open it up here and you can decide how long you want the video to be. Like if you want your students to watch the only 3 minutes of the beginning, you just do that and then you click save. And that's what your students are going to see. Right now, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to discard. You can also change the video if you want. So you can basically build up a whole lesson based on your lesson. Okay. Here in the more icon here, you can see what your lesson looks like. So if you click preview, oops, yeah. It will show how your lesson is going to pop up. You do not see the customize this lesson anymore. So I'm just going to go back to the custom.
Sorry, Farnaz, there's a question in the chat. Is TED Ed available in other languages as well?
In other languages, I know TED is available in other languages, like the subtitles or the transcripts, but with TED Ed, I haven't seen it in other languages. Maybe the transcripts might be available. I can check that later and then get back to you guys in the chat and let you know if it is available. Okay. Another feature is here is the summary of the lesson you have created. So it just shows you everything in one glance. This is just for the teacher to see how the lesson will look like. You can adjust the settings. You can decide which of these features you want, which you don't want. You can just simply uncheck the box. And I'm going to say this again later in our presentation. Your students do not require to use TED accounts. If you just choose that button, your students can access the lesson without having a TED Ed account, which I think is a big plus because usually students struggle with making accounts or they don't want to just simply. So this does not require them to create an account on TED Ed to access the lessons. Okay, so this was about customizing an existing lesson. In the Discover feature, well, there are series as well. I know that there are a lot of series on Earth, Cleanup Challenge. So if you're interested in any of these series, you can definitely direct your students here. We have Earth School and then we have blog. Here in the blog, you can also find great material for students to read on different topics. There are articles written by people of TED Ed on different topics. There are not a lot, but there are very interesting topics there. So the next feature here is creating a lesson. This is where you can start building your lesson up. And a very interesting thing here is that you can use YouTube videos as well. If you don't want to use TED Ed videos, you can choose a video on YouTube and you can present that lesson here. For example, if I want to talk about the story of things, I will search. And the first one, the story of stuff, that's not things, the story of stuff is what I was looking for. You just click on the video, you click continue, and it brings you to this page. So this is the same page where you wanted to customize your videos. And here you will build your lesson from scratch. So for Let's Begin, you will introduce your lesson in a few sentences, you save that, and then so on and so forth. You will come up with questions. For Digging Deeper, here you can include articles, you can include other videos or whatever material you want your students to watch later or read later. And that is basically all about TED Ed. And here you can manage your lessons, your discussions, and if you need support, well, you can come here. There is another feature where you can also make TED Talks for your students, but I don't think we have enough time to get into that, so I'm gonna move on to the next part. Are there any questions about TED? I cannot see the chat right now, I'm sorry, but if you do have any questions, please let me know.
Well, I think we're okay for now. I
Okay.
will monitor their chat and I'll let you know.
Okay, wonderful. So another tool that I would like to tell you about very briefly is Microsoft Stream. This is specifically useful if you want your students to make a video for you as a presentation, because now we are not in class and it's very difficult to ask students to make videos. They don't know what platform to use. We have talked about Adobe Spark before. So I just thought Microsoft Stream can be another great tool to talk about here. So I will very quickly again.
Sorry, Farnaz, there's a question in the chat. Once you create a lesson, how do you give access to students?
Oh, okay. So let me go back to TED Ed. Here, customize this lesson. You publish the lesson, and then you share the link with your students. And then you can say, don't require students to have TED Ed accounts. You can edit these settings. Of course, share your lesson. You can share via email, or you can copy the lesson link and just email the link to your students. Okay. All right, so going back to Microsoft Stream. So this is the main page of Microsoft Stream. You will sign in and you will need to use your Gmail account. There's nothing specific there. It's free. You don't need to pay for anything. So here again, you have Discover, My Content, and Create. So when you click Discover, the videos here are a little bit different from TED Ed or from YouTube. These are the videos made by institutions and by students. Here, we can see Jennifer Peters and we can see a lot of other people. This, I think, was my student at some point. So you can see your students' videos here if they make it accessible to all. You can also create a group here on Microsoft Stream. For example, you can name your class, ELI, for example, 504. And then once you created it, you can add your students to this class. So whatever they share, whatever video they share here, all the students can see. And that's a great tool for everybody to share, engage in an activity here, offline, even at home when they're doing their work. They can watch what their peers are doing. So I think that's a great tool as well.
Sorry to interrupt, Farnaz. There's a question with TED Ed. Can you make your lessons public or private?
That's a good question. I think whoever has the link can access the lesson. It's not public. It's not like Microsoft Stream, because public lessons need to be confirmed and by TED, but by people of TED. So I don't think just anybody can make their lessons public, but whoever has the link can access the lesson. Whoever you share the link with. Okay. So that is about Microsoft Stream. I tried to wrap it up very quickly. My main focus was TED Ed, but I also thought that Microsoft Stream can be a great tool to be used in our classes. And I'm now gonna hand it over to Pegah with 1 minute.
Thank you. Yeah, just very quickly. I will talk literally for 30 seconds. This isn't a teaching tool, but I find that because my goodness, because we are online right now and students aren't in class, they don't really know their classmates. It's a little bit difficult for them to kind of open up and maybe ask for help sometimes. So there's an app on your phone you can download. It's called GroupMe. It's very similar to WhatsApp. It's just a messaging application. However, the one great feature of GroupMe is that you cannot see each other's phone numbers. So you can't see your students' phone numbers, they can't see yours, although you do use your phone number or an email to sign up for GroupMe, but no one can see that. So, you know, in terms of privacy, it's a lot better. And it's exactly like WhatsApp, Signal, you know, Viber, you know, other communication apps. Students can, you know, if they have a question, they don't want to email you, it's late at night, they just need a quick response, they can message you privately or on the group chat. So you create a classroom, you share the classroom with all the students, and they can kind of help each other. If they have questions, they can type it on the chat and other students can answer, or you as the professor can answer as well. And like I said, they can message you individually as well. And I find that it kind of breaks down the barrier. Students feel a little bit more comfortable. They haven't met you, they haven't met their classmates, but you know, they can kind of chat with one another and get help or ask questions. So that's kind of a great way to keep in touch with your students outside of work hours. And you can mute the notifications too if you would like, but it's a great feature to, a great app to use. So thank you, everybody. I know that we are a minute over.
I'd like to be a slide. I'm going to continue to be a slide, at least until
sorry, I think somebody's unmuted. Yeah, so we are here to answer any questions. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
There's just one more thing I'd like to add about MS Stream, because now if you want to hang around, you're free to go. But if you want to hang around on MS Stream, let me just share very quickly what you can do. Here, when you make a video or you want your students to watch a video, the great thing about it is that there is a transcript here